Our top story, international efforts to agree to a diplomatic solution to the crisis between Syria and the U.S. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov are meeting in Switzerland right now. They're trying to forge a deal to place Syria's chemical weapons under international control. Kerry has warned Syria the plan is, quote, not a game, while Russia has again repeated its warning against U.S. military intervention. Let's go live now to CCTV's Nathan King, who is at the White House with more on that. Nathan.
That's right, Elaine. Years of differences over Syria put aside by Moscow and Washington. And while they differ about much, including about which side carried out that August 21st attack in eastern Damascus, they do believe that a deal that could stop the use of chemical weapons again is possible.
You want me to take your word for it? It's a little early for that. Okay.
Lost in translation. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says he's not yet ready to take his Russian counterpart's word at face value. But it's obvious the two sides sense the possibility of a deal to secure Syria's stockpile.
We agree that it would help to save lives if we can accomplish this, that it would reduce the threat to the region, that it would uphold the norm that was established here in Geneva almost a century ago, and that would achieve the best of all of our aspirations for curbing weapons of mass destruction.
I'm convinced that our American colleagues, as President Obama stated, are firmly convinced that we should follow the peaceful way of the resolution of the conflict in Syria.
Lavrov even held out the possibility that these 2 days of talks could pave the way for the long-awaited peace conference on Syria. But a deal to secure Syria's chemical weapons will be tough enough. Details are still lacking on who would go into the war zone and secure multiple sites in a timely fashion.
We don't discuss...
Then there's the question of Syria's conditions for a deal. Last week, in an American TV interview, President Bashar al-Assad gave no indication that Damascus possessed chemical weapons. Now, in an interview with Russian TV, he stressed that he would only agree to a plan if the U.S. withdrew the threat of military force and stopped secretly arming the rebels. And then there's the mutual suspicion between Washington and Moscow. On Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin penned an opinion piece in the New York Times. In it, he said, "It is alarming that military intervention in internal conflicts in foreign countries has become commonplace for the United States. Is it in America's long-term interest? I doubt it. Millions around the world increasingly see America not as a model of democracy, but as relying solely on brute force, cobbling coalitions together under the slogan, 'You're either with us or against us.'" The U.S. says the threat of military force against Syria remains.
This is not a game, and I said that to my friend Sergei when we talked about it initially. It has to be real.
Mutual suspicions aside, both Moscow and Washington have known for the world to act on Syria, they must act together. And chemical weapons is something that scares both countries equally. But do they trust each other enough? We should know some more details about a deal on Friday.
And Nathan, what details are emerging so far of this Russian plan?
Yeah, the plan basically would first of all have Syria sign up to the Chemical Weapons Convention. They seem to have done that at the United Nations. More from Stephen Fee later in the bulletin from the UN. Secondly, what would happen would be inspectors to go in and take a list from the Syrian government of what they have and where they have it. The big question mark is how to dispose of them. The Russian plan basically puts a lot of this in the Syrian government's hand. And I can tell you, just looking at the details of the plan, this is not the week or so that John Kerry said in that offhand remark last week. This could take months, if not years.
All right, CCTV's Nathan King reporting live from the White House. Thanks for that.